Hello, welcome back to the Armchair Safari, the stream, I guess, show, I don't know, where we find something online and we try to learn from it. So I have found a piece of design and we're going to look at that and learn what we can to become better designers. So today we're going to be learning from UIAdrian, who's going to be showing us why empty states are so important. And I think this is a brilliant way to show it, actually. So this is the end result, but this doesn't tell you why it's so important. This just looks like a really nice empty state in some sort of trip app or travel app. But thankfully, UIAdrian, follow him on X at UIUXAdrian, has given us this so we can get a nice comparison to the before and after of why this matters. So what is an empty state? So whenever you build anything online, there's usually not going to be any content in it for the user when they start out. So the thing is empty. The thing is, designers tend to not think about the app when it's empty because that's when nobody's used it yet. You tend to think about the more extreme situations or the common situation or the most common use case. This is sort of a problem with deterministic systems like in code or in games. You really want to try to think about the extremes. You really want to try to think about what is the most possible content we can have and what is the least possible content we can have to make sure that the design works between the two extremes. And in this case, or like in most cases, actually, when you start out, there's not going to be anything in there. So this one, like looking at what it looks like empty is way more important than looking at what it looks like when it's filled to the max. In this case, it probably can't even be filled to the max. So on the left-hand side, we have the complete empty state. Now, this is probably going to be a list of trips, active or past trips. And this is like the standard thing. If you render this with code, you would go through a list and be like, oh, there's nothing in the list, so let's just add an empty label here that says that you have no trips yet. Simple, easy, totally works, but incredibly boring. It's not going to inspire anyone to do anything. It gives the user a dead end, not a call to action, and it just looks boring. This is like tax form boring, right? Even though the design looks awesome around it, it's just completely soulless. So let's switch over to Adrian's actual design here. Instead, what he did is he added some inspiring shots from super nice vacation places, placed in a pile of almost like photos. There's a little safari icon or a little compass icon right there, and then there's a really nice call to action. When, if not today, it's time to start a new adventure. Create your first trip. Nobody's ever going to read that. Most people don't read text in the UI at all, but it's such a clear call to action that you don't really need to read it. You can just look at it and go, yep, totally. This is the button that I'm going to be clicking to set off to do whatever it is I want to do. Anyone who looks at this screen is going to go, this is probably a placeholder. This is probably not something that I should be interacting with. I should just press the button, which is exactly what we want. All right, so let's get into the detail. What can we actually learn from this? Okay, so first of all, making sure that you have something in your empty state, not just leaving it empty, clearly a very good idea. But let's get into the nitty-gritty details. So Adrian here has been using a ton of white space. He's been using a background color and an accent color to signify what is in use and what is actionable. So we have the much darker blue for the buttons that are the action elements. We have the lighter blue on the selected toggles on these toggle menus. And the toggle menus themselves are lighter than the background, even though they're the same shade of color as the background. Everything is very widely spaced out, and it's very reachable with your thumb. At least the main menu down there is super reachable with your thumb, including the create your first trip. Not sure if you can swipe between the top left toggle or not, but Wouldn't surprise me if you could. And it just really, really works. There's a really nice balance to it. There's a lot of white space to make sure to guide your eye really well. The contrast really, really works because normally the human eye tends to follow a reading direction across the screen. So what you're doing is you're sort of reading from the top left corner all the way down to the right bottom corner. And in this case, the top left corner has something, but it's toned down. So you might read it, you might glance over it, but you're not actually looking at it. And then the center fills your attention and it guides your eye clearly to the blue button that just create your first strip, which is excellent. And also the additional active button is top right, which means it's not going to be in your scanning passage. It's not going to be in your scanning path. So it's not going to be distracting from the main content, even though it's equally strong in contrast. Really, really nice. What else? Yeah, so the empty state has a really like playful, quirky sort of pile of photos, which means that it's probably just a graphical element. It's probably not something you're going to be interacting with and playing, especially since it's kind of small. Really nice balance to it because of that. It's also guiding your attention, but it doesn't actually have as hard of a contrast as the blue button. So even though it has a ton of colors and a ton of things going on, it still isn't as strong as the blue button. So even though it will catch your eye is still going to get drawn to the button. Really nice. That's the good. Let's call that the good, and let's look at the bad. Is there anything bad? I guess sort of a weird choice or a unnecessary choice is the today emphasis. The today emphasis seems to switch font. It looks like it's switching from a sans serif to a serif font. Not sure it is. It could just be a very interesting font that does this on italic, but it looks like it's switching font, which is probably not necessary. There's also an italic in the button, which is making it much, much harder to read. And I'm not sure if this is because of the compression, because I'm watching this on X, or if it was actually like this on his screen. Who knows? But with the compression, it doesn't look as crisp as it should be. It looks a little overcompressed, a little hard to read. What else? I mean, this is a perfect design. So there's very little UI in it, meaning this is probably not going to be a functional actual use at the end of it. That's okay, but it doesn't give you because as an example of like what not to do, what to do. This is awesome. It's great for presentation value. If you're actually building this for a real product, I would try to stay away from like a perfect UI like this. But in this case, works perfectly, of course. Yeah, what else? He's added a white icon or a white border around the entire surface. For this example, it makes it look really cool. It makes it look really slick, but it absolutely makes no sense in the design, right? It's just there to look cool for this image, which is also a little bit of a tell that this is a presentation design. It's not actually a functional design. So that brings us to the last topic that we're always looking at when we do these episodes. We try to learn from things that we found online. Is this a functional design? Is this something that a user is actually getting value from? Or is this not just a nice piece of presentation, an aesthetic thing? I mean, he's using this as an example of why you should give some love to your empty states. So I think it totally serves its purpose. We're talking about it. Tens of thousands of people have seen it on X, but it's not supposed to be used in any other way. This is just a presentation. It's a beautiful presentation, though. If we go past the app design and just look at it as a presentation, the fact that there's a tiny, tiny drop shadow from the arrow between the two app views is just beautiful. It just makes the whole thing just a little bit more playful and fun. Really like that. Really like that. Yeah, so that's it. So let's say thank you to UIAdrian for teaching us all about this this cool empty state example. And now you know. Fill your empty states with something that's worthwhile. It's a great opportunity to give the users something they aren't expecting, and something that can really add additional delight and an additional level of polish to your stuff. Thank you, UIAdrian. Thank you for watching. Let me know if there's anything else you would like me to review, or if there's anything specific that I'm missing. Maybe I'm totally wrong about something. Just let me know. And as usual, the design is in the comment below or in the next post under this one. Thanks, everybody. See you tomorrow.